All right, welcome in or welcome back, as the case may be, to the post-game drink presented by Boulevard Brewing Company. All the information you're going to need going to run across the bottom of your screen there. You probably know what happened if you're watching this show. If you don't, Missouri beat Vanderbilt 41-0 in one of the more dominant performances you are going to see on a football field. Missouri had 603 total yards. Vandy had 196. The 41-0 score was actually closer than the game. At no point in any of the 3 hours we were watching that game did Vanderbilt have any chance to win the football game. So here's what we do on the post-game drink. We've been with you for about 5 hours today. We started with the pregame show at 9:30 this morning. We were with you for 3 hours watching the game. But now what we do on the post-game show is really, this is where we have fun, let our hair down, all that. So what we've done, we start with the Tank 7. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one, it's the seventh game of the season, so I always plan Tank 7 for the seventh game of the season, even though we thought the seventh game of the season was going to be a couple weeks ago. Again, this is sponsored by Boulevard Brewing Company, so we drink a different Boulevard product on the show every week. But also, it's Tank 7 because I've got like a case of it left over after the last couple weeks and Thanksgiving and all that. So it's going to be Tank 7 for a while. Also, it's the greatest beverage Boulevard or any other brewing company has ever made. So appreciate you guys being here, hanging out with me while I have a Tank 7. But before I talk and before we get to your calls, which you can do at that number, but please not yet, we will get to it in a little bit. Before we get to that, what we always do on this show is play you Eli Drinkwitz's post-game press conference. This ended about 5 minutes ago from Furrow Field, so we're going to let you listen into what the coach had to say about the game. Then we'll be back, take your comments. I'll offer some thoughts. We'll take your calls. We're going to hang out here till you guys don't want to hang out with me anymore. So here's Eli Drinkwitz after the 41-0 win over Vandy.
Go ahead.
Yeah, great team win today. Thought our defense really played lights out to hold a SEC opponent under 200 yards and a shutout, forced a turnover, stopped them on that early fourth down, which led us to our first scoring drive of the game. Can't say enough about Coach Walters and the job that defense has done the past two games. Really set up our football team to have some momentum and string some wins together. Offensively, I thought we played efficient. Obviously, Larry Roundtree had a big day. Wanted to get Tyler Beatty involved more, and we did that. Thought we converted some early third downs, which helped put us in position to score points. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
First one's going to come from Dave Matter from the St. Louis Post. Dave?
Eli, I know you've got 3 games left and 4 with a bowl, but this is the first time you've had a winning record. Is that significant to you to see a winning record next to Missouri's name right now?
No, we'll look at that when we're done with the season. We're just trying to be 1-0 each week. And right now we're 1-0, and I'll celebrate it until about, 6:37 a.m. tomorrow, and we'll be on to whoever we're supposed to play if that doesn't change.
Bennett Durando from the Post. Bennett?
Eli, Beatty with 100 receiving yards today, and like you said, you've wanted to get him more involved. Did today sort of feel like the model of how to balance him and Larry?
No, I mean, not necessarily. It worked out that way. We thought we were going to be able to get him in some good matchups, and we were able to do so. But I don't necessarily know if there's a model or not a model. I just think he does a really good job of creating matchup issues. Wish he could have got in on that tunnel screen, but did an excellent job.
Peter Baugh from The Athletic. Peter?
Yeah, Eli, I heard on your radio show you said you kind of used Vanderbilt's win last year as motivation. What was kind of your thought process in doing that?
I mean, every week you try to figure out what your edge is going to be and trying to motivate your guys. And, I think last year we were all embarrassed. When the headline says knocked out in Nashville, that's something that you want to remember and use as something to increase your focus and make sure that we don't take anybody for granted. And I told them it's not about what happened. It's about what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? And, I wasn't even here, but most of our staff wasn't here, but I said, we're going to do something about it. And we owned it and tried to do something about
it. Bill Pollock, go ahead.
Yeah, Eli, history made today with Sarah getting on the field. Just talk about it from your perspective. And then I know you had a few words with her before the game, maybe what was said there.
Coach is muted.
Yeah, hey, Sean, coach is muted.
Got me?
Yeah, we got you now. Yeah, we didn't get any of that. Sorry. Could you
Yeah,
repeat?
I just said that anytime you break a barrier or do something, it's to be commended. It takes courage to do that, and for her to have the courage to come out Monday and be a part of a football team, knowing that it's going to be a barrier broken, that's awesome. And I just shared with her that I had 4 daughters of my own that made me very proud to be on the football field with her and congratulate her and wish her the best. And that was really it.
Jack Sobel, go ahead.
Coach, I was just wondering, with Larry back today and the run game kind of going off, I was just wondering kind of what does he mean to your offense and how do you think he played today?
Well, I mean, I think he played well. I'll have to go back and watch the film. There was several blocks when I was keying on him that, he was a dominant blocker, a dominant force, which is what we expect. And, obviously it helps us when he's there.
Mitchell 40, go ahead.
Yeah, Eli, kind of in the same boat. Obviously, the run game was quite a bit more effective than we've seen the past couple of weeks. What do you think went into that?
I don't know. I have to go back and watch the tape. Obviously, matchups and being able to mix in some throws there to get them soft and keep them second guessing probably. Still was disappointed. We had a couple of short yardage runs that we weren't able to get first downs on and, got stuffed on the goal line right there. So we still got a long way to go. We ain't there yet. I can promise you that.
Kyle Pennell from the Maneater. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, Coach, you had a few returners on both the offensive line and defensive line. You touched on Borum, and I'm curious, what did you make of Delgado and some of the other returners, and what did they bring that you guys were really missing over the past few weeks?
Well, I think, I commended those guys for fighting to get back for their teammates. We're down guys, and when you're not playing, it's put stress on everybody because everybody's having to do more. And so to get Kobe Whiteside back and Trajan Jeffcoat back and Xavier Delgado back and Larry Borum back in a trench-driven league, that's 4 more good players that can help us spread the load. And I think that's what happened today. It's a tremendous sack right there by Jeffcoat before half where he got the ball out. Wish we could have recovered it, but still a tremendous sack.
Next one goes to Eric Blum. Eric.
Eli, it doesn't seem like we were calling Connor Bazelak's name a whole lot today, but, just to manage the game and hand it off to Larry and get it to Tyler, what do you think about his performance?
Well, if going 30 for 37 or 318 yards is a pedestrian day, I would take it all week long or every game he ever plays. I mean, I think that's a pretty special stat line. I know he didn't throw any touchdowns, but, I think he played a pretty solid football game. I can't get that math right off the top of my head, but it's well over 70%, 300 yards. So pretty good.
Suichi from the Star. Go ahead.
Hey, Eli, just was wondering your thoughts on your team's concentration and just kind of not letting off the gas and letting Vandy get back into the game.
Yeah, I think that's showing maturity as a football team that they can handle what's being thrown at them. And we'll see. We still got 3 more weeks to go, and then there's going to be adjustments and all kinds of different things. And we got to go into a rivalry week next week, which we thought we started out this week. So we'll see. But I do like the way that we've strung 2 games together, and I like the way our defense is playing right now. So we'll see.
Ben Hockman from the Post. Ben.
Hey, Eli, at halftime, you mentioned on TV the word will to describe the way Larry Roundtree plays football. Can you talk a little more about that and what you see, whether it's the stiff arms or the other ways he breaks tackles and gets through?
Yeah, I mean, he just refuses to get tackled. I mean, he is never – the play is never over until you physically get him to the ground. He's not going to give an inch. And, I mean, he plays the way a running back is supposed to play. Every yard he's going to punish the defense and refuses to go down. And that's why I love him. That's why he's a captain. He's a great player.
Peter Baugh from The Athletic. Peter.
Yeah, Eli, how much long-term benefit do you think there is in getting guys reps like Brady Cook and Chris Abrams-Drain, getting them reps in like an actual game setting? How much benefit is there?
Yeah, I mean, experience is the best teacher. Brady Cook went 4 for 4 and threw a touchdown. Connor was on the headsets. Said there might be a quarterback controversy. I mean, anytime you can play in a game and get in there execute, it just gives you confidence so that when your number's called, you lean back on that experience. And I thought Elijah Young ran really well. Chris Abrams-Drain got in there. J-Mac was in there. Looper was in there. Brady Cook played well, so yeah, it's great. It's great. We need it.
Jack Sobel.
Coach, I just noticed that Jalen Knox wasn't really playing too much in the second half and even towards the end of the first half, and I saw him kind of standing on the sideline with his helmet off. Was he injured, or was that a coach's decision?
Yeah, he was beat up. He little tweak lower leg injury, so hopefully it's nothing, but didn't want to risk it.
Dave Matter.
I know when the year began, you really wanted to rely on this defense because that was the more experienced unit. Just how close are they playing to the level where you kind of thought they could be?
Pretty damn close. I mean, 196 yards, no points, 1 touchdown in the last 2 games. That's pretty good. So they're doing a nice job. They're as healthy as they've been in a while on the defensive front. We've got a really good rotation at corner right now, and you got Nick Bolton anchoring that thing, just hammering out 10 tackles a game like it's nothing. So you got a pretty good special unit right now. Obviously, we're only as good as our next performance. We're really going to get tested next week. I mean, that offense is really good. They got 2 legit wide receivers. Their running back's really good, and their quarterback's playing at a high level. So we'll get tested next week for sure.
Mitchell, you're the last one with your hand raised, so you get the last question. Mitch 40, go ahead.
Eli, obviously you've talked quite a bit about the defensive performance. Was there anything in particular that you thought was key in shutting down Ken Seals? He'd had a few good games in a row coming into this one.
I mean, I thought our coverage was really tight. I thought Coach did an excellent job of mixing in man and zone to keep him off balance, and he was unsure of where the ball should go and when it should come out, which allowed us to get some pressure. And really, I think that first 4th down of the game, that first stop right there, it was 3rd and 1, didn't get it, 4th and 1, didn't get it, and we went down and scored. I think that gives your defense just a confidence, your offense a confidence. I mean, Grant McGinnis is ticked off. He didn't even get to play today. So that's
all right. That's all we got for Coach. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, boys.
All right, so there you go. Eli Drinkwitz after a 41-0 win over Vanderbilt, and that kind of says it all, right? The punter didn't get to play. Grant McGinnis did not set foot on the field for Missouri today. So that's a pretty good day. And look, this Vandy team, let's get it out of the way. They're not good, right? They didn't show much fight. I think Derek Mason probably lost his job today if he wasn't going to lose it before. But this is a team that hung with Texas A&M, that took Kentucky to the wire, that actually led Florida late in the first half. It's not a team that's incapable of competing in the SEC. It's a team that didn't compete in the SEC today. Missouri deserves credit for that. I think there's 2 signs of a well-coached team. Number 1, they do well in close games. Missouri's 2-0 in one-score games this year. Number 2, they get better throughout the year. Missouri's 2 worst games were its first 2 games of the year. Since then, Missouri's won 4 out of 5. They're playing some good football. Yeah, they're playing some bad teams, but so what? You beat who's on the schedule. That's all you can do. They are now, let me think. They've lost to Florida, lost to Tennessee. They're 3-2 in East Division games. Got 1 more left, but that'll go a long way in this division. So here's what we do on this show. It's called the Post Game Drink. It's sponsored by Boulevard Brewing Company. Almost said hosted. It's hosted by me. But so what we do, we hang out. We have a Boulevard. Today is Tank 7. We talk about how Boulevard makes really good drinks, and then we talk about Missouri football. We take comments. We've already got a number of those. We will start to put those on the screen, certainly. We also take phone calls. There's the number, right? Let me see if I can point to it. I can't because I can't point my finger the right way. But anyway, there, 573-234-4935. If you call that number, I've got Skype open right now, and that will ring on the screen, and I will answer your call, and we will talk about Missouri football. Sometimes we'll talk about cat facts. Sometimes we'll talk about other things. Our first call is coming in, and we've actually got 2 other calls, so I'm going to add all 3 of these calls, and I just want to let you guys know I'm going to call out your area code to call on you. I've got 3 of you on the line. That's the only way to do it, so we're starting with 417, which was the first call I took. 417, who we got?
Hey, Gabe, it's Tucker down in Joplin.
What's up, Tucker? How are you, man?
I'm good, man. You doing okay? You guys have a good holiday?
Hanging in. Everything was good. Yeah. Plenty of food, plenty of beer, a little more beer now, so we're set.
Same. Hey, okay, so I want to ask about Jalen Knox, and I did see from somebody on Twitter after the game that Drink said he was banged up a little bit, so they didn't use him as much down the stretch. Hopefully he's okay and all that. But even with that being said, I wonder if they don't use him the right way sometimes. Like Drink says we've got to use him more, and he's a playmaker and all this. And I feel like they use him almost like the Chiefs use McCole Hartman, like reverses, pop passes, things like that. Whereas, I saw glimpses in his true freshman year in 2018 that, to me, they don't treat him enough like a complete receiver. And today I know he had some injury issues.
Right.
I'm wondering if you see that too, and if you agree. And maybe he doesn't have the skill set for it, but I feel like they use him only on gadget plays, that they need to treat him more like a complete receiver. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a fair criticism. Knox has been inconsistent, right? So some of that is probably on him. He's had some drops, and I want to let you guys know I got 5 or 6 calls on hold right now. I'm going to get to you, but I can only talk to one person and take one answer at a time. So if you're on hold, just stick with me and make sure your computer's on mute. But Knox, has been inconsistent at times this year. I don't think there's any question about that, and so part of that is his fault. But Drinkwitz also, I got to give him some credit. He said at times with Larry Roundtree and Tyler Beatty, like, I've got to figure out ways to use him more. And he's done that as the year went on. So a little bit of it's a learning process, I think, for the coach, too. And like you said, today, lower leg injury. They didn't think it was serious, but they didn't want to push him, so that explains today. I think it's a fair point. But, there's only one football to go around, and so it's Drinkwitz's job to kind of keep all those guys happy. So,
all right, awesome. Thanks, Gabe. Appreciate it.
Tucker, I appreciate the call, man. Next one I got's a 573 area code. Who am I talking to from the 573? You still there?
Hey, Gabe, it's Justin Ferguson. How are you there?
Hey, Justin, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, doing great. Figured I'd get the call in early.
What was the final Jaeger bomb count?
To be honest with you, it's definitely over 12. I don't know the exact count.
Okay.
Because I slipped a few in there here and there, just to get a few more in.
Okay.
But real happy to see Toski Dove today. He had a heck of a game. It was amazing last year. The only time we ever saw him last year was in that Arkansas game when he made that one catch. The other thing that, just happy for Eli Drinkwitz, man. Last year we lost to Kentucky. We lost to Vanderbilt. This year we beat both of them. And I think for Missouri fans, we should beat both of them. And that's where we are right now under the Eli Drinkwitz era.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good start. Justin, I think we're having some audio problems with.
Yeah, and
there you are. Yeah.
Lastly, just hats off to Ryan Walters. Last week he was in quarantine, and we're all talking about David Gibbs, and hey, if Walters leaves, is Gibbs the guy? Look, as long as Ryan Walters is at Missouri, I think the defense is in fairly good hands for the most part.
There you go. Well, Justin, appreciate the call, man. I got to give Justin a shout out. He does a Jaeger. He's always with us all game day long. Does a Jaeger shot at the beginning, one for every Missouri score, and one at the end of every quarter, and managed to stick around to make the phone call. And Justin, I appreciate it, man. I got a lot of guys on hold, so I'm going to move on. But good point about Toski Dove. He had 14 catches in his career coming into today. He had 8 in the first half today. So nice day for Toski Dove. Justin, appreciate you calling. I'm going to move on. Next in the queue is the 847 area code. Who am I talking with?
What's up, Gabe? It's Andrew in Chicago. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Andrew, you too, man. Appreciate the call. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. I got a couple things I want to discuss. First one, would love for you to just give a little compare and contrast to where the program is after this Vandy game compared to last year's Vandy game.
Look, last year's Vandy game is the reason Eli Drinkwitz is here, right? Wyoming certainly played a part. Kentucky played a part. But if he just wins last year's Vandy game, I think Barry Odom's still here. Even I know people that cover Vandy, and they'll tell you, I don't understand how that game happened. Nobody understands how it happened. I think it got Barry Odom fired, and I think it kept Derek Mason for another year. I feels a little bit better from this side of things this time, huh?
Yeah, it definitely feels a lot better to be a fan. I'll tell you that. And my second question: why do some of the beat reporters wear masks when they're in rooms by themselves on the Zoom?
Okay. Well, they are actually not – the ones who are wearing masks are not in rooms by themselves. Those guys are covering the game. They're in the press box, and it is a rule. We had to do it at the basketball game on Wednesday night too. It's a rule. If you're going to be there covering the game live, you wear a mask the whole time, including during post-game, including when you're writing. It's not people being like super paranoid in their basement wearing a mask. It is what they are required to do being there in the press box. So, you know.
All right. I mean, that makes sense. Both great answers. Thanks for taking my call, and excited to watch this today and every week moving forward.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate you being a part of it, man. Hope you had a good holiday. We're going to move on. 618 area code. Who am I talking to now?
Hey, Gabe. It's Travis in Southern Illinois.
What's up, Travis? How you doing?
All right. Hey, I just thought with the Vandy female kicker, I just think maybe within the next 5-10 years, there might be multiple girl kickers out there, kickers, punters, and I think that'd be a pretty cool thing. You know, I think it's bound to happen eventually. What do you think?
I think it's possible. I feel like I want to be a little bit careful here, right? Because it's a good thing overall. I think. I feel bad for her in that. I think, and I feel bad for the other people on the team in that it became the sole focus because, look, the game was 34-0 and there was nothing to talk about, and it became the only thing they were talking about. Would have been cool if she got a chance to kick, but something like that can become more divisive than it needs to be. It's interesting on the kickoff. I thought it was good Derek Mason got her into kickoff because so much was made of it. I thought it was important that she did see the field, and I think he understood at that time that was the only chance he might have to get her on the field because we talked to Mitchell Forty, who covered the game for us pregame, and he said warming up, she was basically kicking extra points. Like, she probably wasn't going to try a field goal longer than 20 or 25 yards. So I think Derek Mason knew at that point, I better get her on the field now or it might not happen. And I don't want to come off as saying I don't think this is a good thing. I do think it's a good thing. But, you know, I'm curious. I'm not sure that there will be multiple ones because I'm curious what the leg strength is. Like, it's not a sexist thing to say that guys are generally stronger, right? I mean, you've got college kickers who are regularly making 50-yard field goals, and I don't know. Maybe she can do that. I have no idea what her range is. But I feel bad for her that I think it became a bigger focus than it would have been in a lot of games simply because that was a game that wasn't competitive.
Yeah, I think it became like a bigger story. It kind of reminded me of the Michael Sam situation when he was with the Rams in preseason or whatever, and it just became something that you probably didn't even ask for. And then I was also going to ask, what does Mizzou have? I don't think they have any receivers in this coming class, but the quarterbacks, especially, you know, Cook and Macon coming, what have they got coming in as far as receivers? Have you heard anything?
I do believe I'm going to have to look it up because I get sometimes a little bit off track with the commitments and who's committed and who they're recruiting and who's in what year. So let me look up real quick. I am looking up their commitment list. I think they have one wide receiver. I appear to be incorrect about that. They have 2 tight ends, no wide receivers at this point in time. So they've got a lot of young guys on this team. I mean, they signed a ton of them last year. J.J. Hester, Chance Looper, Jay Macklin, Chris Abrams-Drain, you know, a lot of young receivers. But they definitely want to add at least a couple this year. And the quarterback stuff, yeah, like you mentioned, they've got, you know, Cook and Macon coming next year. And that's a situation where you just add one every year and whoever ends up transferring. But wide receiver and offensive line are the major focuses on the recruiting front going forward for the rest of this class. And, you know, one thing that we talked about during our game chat, what if Kiki Chisholm and Damon Hazelton decide to come back next year? Now, I don't know if they will or not, but it's an interesting thing because maybe neither of them had quite the year so far they were hoping for. So do they spend another year in college? I don't have any idea. It's complete speculation at this point. But wide receiver and O-line will definitely be a focus, and so will the transfer portal.
All right. Thanks, Gabe.
All right. Thanks for the call. So I got one more caller on the line right now. It is simply listed as an unknown person. So I've learned this is dangerous. But if there is an unknown person on the line, what's going on?
Hey, Gary, it's me, your old buddy Barriota. Man, I just had some breaking news for you and your listeners. I don't know if you heard, but Vanderbilt had a female kicker today. I know, no one really talked about it, but...
I did hear that. I also learned on this call that my name is now Gary. But, yeah, and look, I know you're being facetious, but I do think it was kind of unfortunate that it was the sole focus of like half the broadcast. I also understand that it was a big deal. So, I think it's too bad that it will probably lead to more ridicule of Sarah than it needs to.
I'm going to keep it real. I feel like that Sarah wasn't given a fair opportunity and that Vandy kind of looked at it more as a publicity stunt rather than bringing in a kicker. You know, like Derek Mason said something like he only felt comfortable kicking with her like within the 15-yard line. You know, if you really like your kicker, you're going to feel comfortable kicking with her at a longer distance than that. So I feel like she kind of got screwed over, and this was just Derek Mason's way to bring attention to his obviously failing program.
I think some of that is very fair criticism, and I will leave it at that. But I agree with you on parts of that. Look, like I said, college kickers are regularly making 50-yarders. If you didn't feel comfortable for more than 20 yards, then you're going to have to explain a little bit about why you're doing it. So,
deuces, Greg.
All right, appreciate the call. This is Greg. Gabe DeArmond, whatever. I don't care. Look, I've responded to far worse. So that's cool. Look, the phone line's open now. Feel free to call. There's the number, 234-4935. We're building up. We're over 100 people now. Last week we were up over 200, so we got a little ways to go. Last week was also a night game. People were drinking a little bit more. But, look, it's 2 days after Thanksgiving. I guarantee you're sitting on the couch. You had some leftovers. Hopefully, for your sake, you got some Boulevard sitting around. So give me a call. Tell me what you think. But we've got comments and questions here. Just on not everybody wants to talk to me. Not everybody wants to call up and call me Greg on the phone. Some people just want to type in their thoughts. And some of you guys are here from last week. The Canoe Man's over from the Auburn site. Should be watching the Iron Bowl, but appreciate you being here. All right, we got a call from the 720 area code. Who are we talking with?
Hey, Gabe. This is JT. How you doing?
Not bad. What's up, JT? Where are you calling from?
Well, I'm in North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay.
Yes.
What's on your mind?
So, hey, well, I watched the whole game, and I was trying to figure out what my takeaways were, and I didn't have any because it was so lopsided.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, what did I miss? Did we learn anything?
Well, and we got a couple more calls. I'm just adding you to the call. You're going to need to hang on. I'll call you by your area code when we're ready, but I appreciate you hanging with us. JT, what we learned was Missouri did what it should do against the worst team in the conference on a day when the worst team in the conference didn't appear particularly interested in being there. But I said a number of times during our watch party, like it felt like to me a game against like Murray State or Eastern Michigan in mid-September, right? Where you went into the game going, I'm 95% sure I know what's going to happen here. There was a couple moments. Missouri had back-to-back drives that ended in a missed field goal and a turnover on downs where you said, they're kind of letting Vandy hang around, right? And then Vandy didn't do anything with it. Right. By mid-second quarter, you said, yeah, this game's over. It doesn't matter what Missouri does the rest of the way. Vanderbilt's not capable. And so I get it, the last 35 minutes were just kind of like, try to get this over without anybody getting hurt, and that's a good place to be as a first-year coach. It's good to know somebody else in your division. You can make them look that bad, but it is also, like you said, a little bit hard to think at the end, hey, what did I learn out of this when it simply looked like the varsity playing the JV?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Did you has Vanderbilt played anybody else in the league tough this year? I haven't looked at their scores.
Yeah, Vanderbilt lost 17-12 to A&M in the season opener. It lost 38-35 to Kentucky. It actually led Florida 10-7 late in the second quarter last week. So Vanderbilt is capable of being competitive in this league. It was not today. So Missouri deserves credit for that, and Vanderbilt also gets blame. So today is not worthless, but today was uncompetitive. And the last hour and a half, like, we were just trying to get to the end of the game.
Yeah, well, that's good to see that we can do that. I agree. Thanks, Gabe.
Appreciate the call, JT. Thanks for joining us. Hope Thanksgiving went well. 561 area code. Who are we talking with?
South Florida here. Jeff, how you doing?
South Florida. I don't think we've taken a call from South Florida this year. How you doing, Jeff? Good to hear from you, man.
Good. Missouri class of 1984.
Okay.
So
still a young man.
I will try not to be too picky on a great day, but I have a couple legitimate questions here.
Okay.
Number one, Azalak looked awkward at times today. He fell down trying to throw a bubble screen. He rolled into a couple sacks that just looked odd. And I wonder if this brace on his leg, on his right leg, I believe it is a permanent thing. Does it have anything to do with him wobbling a little bit today when he didn't look like he got hit very much? And also, why would we be running any option plays for him like we had a couple weeks ago if he's got a brace on his leg? That made no sense to me. And then the other point, real quick, if you don't mind, I'll let you respond to both.
You're good.
Dave Matter asked or tweeted today that when Beatty went over 100 yards, it was the first Missouri receiver that did that since Johnson last year. And it just kind of reminds me that of all the good things that we're seeing this year, we don't really have a home run hitting deep receiver. So just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and appreciate you calling in, Jeff. I would say we'll start with the first one, which is Bazelak. The brace on the knee, like, we have to remember this is a kid who I guess it was 12 months ago, almost a year ago to the day probably. I think it was November 29th last year, so it would have been 364 days ago because Barry Odom got fired on the 30th. The Arkansas game, he tore his ACL. So I don't think it's permanent, but I think it's a permanent for this year thing. I'll be honest, I didn't really notice the stumbles or the wobbles you're talking about, but I also have to admit I'm doing a broadcast and a live stream, so I'm probably missing some things during the game that other people whose sole focus is on that are seeing. But Connor was 30 for 37 for 318 yards today. I've got a hard time nitpicking much of anything he did. That's a pretty efficient performance. Now, also, I will say he could have made himself a full turkey dinner in the pocket at times, and he had guys running open. Like, he did what he should have done considering what was happening in front of him. But I thought he played a good game today. And then the other question was Beatty, a 100-yard receiver. It was interesting. Actually, Dave and I do a TV show together on cable here in mid-Missouri, and somebody asked us who's Missouri's first 100-yard receiver going to be, and we both actually said Tyler Beatty wouldn't be a bad bet, and it was Tyler Beatty who was the first 100-yard receiver. So, that's it's not ideal, right? Tyler Beatty's been this team's leading receiver, I think, maybe each of the last 2 years. You don't really want that out of a running back. It does say something about your wideouts. But it also says something about Tyler Beatty and Eli Drinkwitz being able to use him. I'd actually like to see some scenarios where Beatty's out as a slot receiver. Put him out wide like some teams do with Le'Veon Bell, like the Chiefs used to do with Kareem Hunt. Things like that. Put him out there because he can make guys miss, and he's got SEC speed without question. So, yeah, I understand a couple of concerns, and the wide receiver position is a concern right now. No question. It hadn't been good enough this year. Part of the reason it hadn't been good enough is that Damon Hazelton and Kiki Chisholm maybe haven't been quite what they thought they'd be, but I give Hazelton a little credit. He got one snap last week. He could have completely given up. He stuck in it, and he made a couple plays this week, including a touchdown. Now, that was in the fourth quarter, but he also had a big first down catch. It was either late second or early third. So, I think it's not where he wants it to be. It's not where Drinkwitz wants it. But he's also, 7 games into his tenure. So I think it's not where he thinks it'll be in a couple years. I completely understand the concerns on both, but neither – I'd say wide receiver more of a concern than Bazelak, but neither yet something that I'm ready to hit a panic button on or anything.
Sure. I hope I get to drive 5 hours from Palm Beach County over to Tampa to see the Outback Bowl, which is what I've seen a couple of organizations say we may end up playing Wisconsin there.
Yeah, I hope if you do that, the Outback Bowl allows you to come in and sit in the stands. That'd be great, man.
Yep. So far, Florida's letting people in the stands, even though they're limiting the number.
All right, good deal. Well, Jeff, I appreciate the call, man. Hope to hear from you again down the road.
Thank you.
All right, so we're caught up for now on phone calls. Again, the phone lines are open, and that's always our first priority on this show. We want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. The Skype line rings, we're going to answer it. So we'll get there. Until then, we'll roll through some of these comments on the comment reel. Appreciate you guys are learning this stuff, man. We're getting some likes, we're getting comments, we're getting everything. I appreciate you guys doing that. Actually, what I'm going to do before I get to some of these, I'm going to check some SEC scores real quick and just check where we're at. Auburn and Bama still Bama now 7-0 late first. Ole Miss and Mississippi State are scoreless. Those are the only 2 games going on right now. So I'm gonna update our scores real quickly and jump over to the Skype line for the 636 area code. Who am I talking to?
What's up, Gabe? It's Josh from St. Louis again, and I wanted to congratulate you because on Tiger Sidelines this week, you predicted Tyler Beatty would be Mizzou's first 100-yard receiver of the season, and he became that today.
You know what? Every now and then, Josh, you just pull something out of your, you get lucky, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, I tried to be a little bit unconventional, and it worked out this time. Yeah, we were just talking about that with the last caller. Like, ideally, you don't really want that, but I guess you'd rather have somebody with 100 yards than not. So, that'll work.
Yeah, for sure. And then just one thing I wanted to add. You guys also talked about this on Tiger Sidelines, I believe, too. But I think Drinkwitz should get, assuming that they at least win 2 more the rest of the year, I think he should get heavy consideration for SEC Coach of the Year because that would be matching last year's win total with a 10-game all-SEC schedule. So that's just really impressive to me, but that's all I had to add for today.
Well, Josh, appreciate the call, man. Hope Thanksgiving was good. Hope you're enjoying the weekend. And I totally agree. If Missouri gets to 6-4, I don't know if Drinkwitz wins SEC Coach of the Year, but he absolutely deserves consideration for it because Sam Pittman, people had handed him the award through 4 weeks, and he looked like he was going to deserve it, but Arkansas's got a chance to end up 3-7. I actually think Missouri-Arkansas next weekend, I think the winner of that has an excellent shot at SEC Coach of the Year. Now, the other guys who are going to figure in, Dan Mullen, maybe. I think Jimbo factors in a little bit. Saban, look, if he goes 10-0 and dominates the league, I don't have a problem with him winning it, but he probably won't get it because it's more of an expectation award, and everybody expected Saban's team to be this good, so I don't think he'll get it. I think that Missouri-Arkansas game could really come down to making the call for SEC Coach of the Year, because if you go 3-7 and you're Arkansas, I just can't vote for a guy who went 3-7 as SEC Coach of the Year, even though I know it's vastly improved. But and with Drinkwitz, I think 6-4 and 5-5 is a big difference too.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Thanks for taking my call, Gabe, and hope you had a good holiday too.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. And yeah, either way, I think actually both of those teams are teams that should feel pretty good about what their coaching situation is right now. I mean, Missouri fans should be very happy with what Eli Drinkwitz has done. And obviously Sam Pittman's done a good job at Arkansas. They'll meet up next weekend, and we'll see how it goes. I would guess when that game was on the board last week, I think Missouri was a 2-point favorite. After what Missouri did this week, I wouldn't be surprised to see Missouri open as maybe a 4 or 5 point favorite based on the fact Arkansas didn't play and Missouri won big. But like I said, we're going to roll through some of these comments. Stuart West says Roundtree had his day. Nice seeing Elijah Young today, too, and Beatty has an extra gear when he hits the open field. Missouri should feel real good about the running back position, right? So Larry Roundtree, 21 for 163 touchdowns. He's the headliner. Tyler Beatty, only 18 rushing, but 102 receiving, so 120 in total offense for him. Roundtree had 183 in total offense. So Roundtree and Beatty alone combined for 303 yards of total offense. Elijah Young, 4 carries for 52 yards, and that kid had a 35-yarder down the sideline that almost went for 60. And, man, you can see why they like him. Like, that was close. And he had a carry last week that almost went for a touchdown, and he had a carry this week that I think it was about a 12-yard carry or something down to about the 7-yard line, and it looked like they were going to try to get him in the end zone, but it didn't work out. But overall, running backs combined for 355 yards from scrimmage. Missouri feels real good about that. Now, again, Roundtree's going to leave. I mean, he's already accepted an invite to the Senior Bowl. I can't see Larry coming back. But he's got what, 4 games left. I don't know the exact number, but he's over, I think, 3,400 yards rushing. I mean, he'd have to go crazy, but he's got a chance at 4,000 yards for his career. Would be the second Missouri player ever to do that. Got second today on the list of 100-yard games. Brad Smith had 18. Roundtree has 12. I saw Brad shouted him out on Twitter, which was cool. Brad always been all class. So, yeah, Missouri feels real good about that position. Got Taj Butts coming in next year. Still looking at some other guys. They've actually got, I believe, 2 running back commitments. Let me look it up. I'm still here. Taj Butts and B.J. Harris is the other guy from Chattanooga, Tennessee. So, Drinkwitz had an NFL running back last year. That's a position I think they probably feel good about. All right, Chuck, 7 games in, a small sample, but how can you not be impressed with the coach and his staff? 100% agree. I'll get back to you. We're going to go to the phone lines. 314, who are we talking to?
Hey, this is Nick from Marion, Illinois.
Hey, Nick, how you doing? I've stopped in Marion, Illinois for meals on the way to Nashville a number of times.
Yeah, not a whole lot here, but yeah, not a bad place.
You got a good barbecue spot. I know that.
Yeah, 17th Street. Appreciate it. Hey, it's kind of interesting to look back at the Tennessee game. It's one of those games where I'm sure Missouri kind of wishes they'd have back, or at least later in the schedule now. Going forward, it seems like the defense at least is improving. And yes, we saw some improvement today in the offense, but there's got to be still some concern, I guess, going forward, even into Arkansas next week, and of course Mississippi State and Georgia going forward with the offense.
Well, I'm not sure, because I think they knew at the beginning of this year that this was going to be a limited team offensively. And then you throw in COVID and what it's taken away from the line and all that. And I think Eli Drinkwitz, has managed, like, he goes into this knowing I have to manage these things. The South Carolina game, he saw, hey, I've got enough points to win this game, no reason to take risks. He criticized himself for it. I don't think he should have, but whatever. But they know the limits of their team. And I think that actually almost encourages you as a Missouri fan. While you understand this is a limited team, you look at it and say, this is a guy who understands the team he's got, even though they're not his players, even though it's year one, even though all this crazy stuff has happened, he's adjusting on the fly to get the most out of what he's got. And yeah, the offense hasn't been great. Until today, it was great. How much do you take out of that? I'm not sure. But hey, they scored 41 and they could have scored more, and they all count regardless of whether Vanderbilt is a great team or not. So I understand the concerns with the offense, but also understand he didn't really have an offseason in year one. Like, his system probably is not even really in. Most of his guys aren't in place. He's doing this with a little bit of a patchwork crew. So I think we balance those, right? There's things to be concerned about, but not overly concerned.
That's fair. Yeah. And I really appreciate the call, and you do a good job.
Thank you. Appreciate you for being a part of it, and appreciate all you guys for hanging out with me and making this thing worthwhile. Because, like, look, I've been talking since 9:30 this morning. We're going on 6 hours. If it's just me talking, it's kind of worthless. It only works if you guys talk. So we're going to the 660 area code now. Who are we talking to?
Hi, this is Quinn.
What's up, Quinn? How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Not bad. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I'm not sure if you got to this earlier because I came out of the stream late, so my apologies if you have talked about this. But I was just wondering about the O-line and how much we could take away today of whether Borum and Delgado
really helped improve the performance, or whether it was just Vanderbilt being that bad, or some of both, because obviously you could really tell the difference there.
Yeah, it probably was some of both, right? But, I mean, it's hard to deny when Larry Borum's been on the field, they've pretty much been better. Now I know the Alabama game, I write off the Alabama game. Like, that doesn't even count.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Tennessee game, I thought the offensive line was okay. They didn't play a great offensive game. But since then, like, you got to give the team a couple weeks to get its feet wet, right? Since then, when Larry Borum's been on the field, they've been really good. And how much stock you put in things like what Pro Football Focus does is up to you, right? It's arguable, but I don't think they would have a guy who's been not pretty good as the highest rated offensive lineman in Power 5 football, which he was for a time. I think he is a huge factor in the line getting better. And, Vanderbilt has something to do with it. But this is a discussion I've had with so many people over the years. A lot of times, anytime a team wins a game, you want to say, yeah, but that other team is bad. Well, you know what? All you got to do is beat bad teams, and you're going to go 8-4 every year. I mean, that's all you've got to do. It's not it. So, hey, just go beat the bad teams. Beat one good team every year. You're sitting 9-3. You're going to play on New Year's Day. So,
all right. Thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you. Appreciate you being a part of it. I know we had a call from the 217 area code. I tried to add you. For some reason, it didn't work. Please call back. I'll get you. We want to make sure everybody who wants to talk about this game, about this team, about your Thanksgiving leftovers, whatever, get a chance to do it. So 217, if you're listening, if you're watching, please call back. There's the number right there. If you guys want to call us, 573, let's see if I can do this, 573-234-4935. Call us there. This is the post-game drink sponsored by Boulevard Brewing Company. We're hanging out. We're drinking some Boulevard. We're talking Missouri football, 41-0 win over Vanderbilt. The numbers have been scrolling across the screen there. I'm actually going to take them off now. I'm going to switch to your SEC scoreboard. I'm going to look up some other SEC scores real quickly. Still, Alabama 7, Auburn 0, into 1. The Egg Bowl scoreless in the first. So that's all that's going on right now. Kentucky pushed Florida for about a quarter and a half last week this morning and got blown out, which is about what you would expect out of Kentucky and Florida. So Chuck says 7 games in, small sample size. How can you not be impressed with the coach and the staff? 100% agree. Look, and that doesn't mean they're going to be great. That doesn't mean that Eli Drinkwitz is, the best coach in Missouri history or is going to get a call from the, New York Jets in a month. Who knows what the future holds, right? Next year could very well be a step back. But so far, you have to be impressed. All right, we got the 573 area code here in mid-Missouri. Who are we talking with?
Hey, Gabe, this is Bronson. First-time caller, long-time listener.
It can't be that long, man. This is only like week 7, but I appreciate you calling. What's going on?
I've always wanted to say that. I had a question. So at the beginning of the season, I feel like you said that Walters might be like a 1-year term with Drink and then try to move on. If he doesn't have any head coaching offers, do you think they'll stay together since they're doing so well?
Yeah, and Bronson, I appreciate the call. What I'm going to do, I'm going to answer this other call. It may boot you off, but I'm going to answer your question. I know you're listening, and I appreciate the call. So 217 area code. I want you to hang on while I finish up answering this other question that Bronson just gave us. So about Ryan Walters, I think it's very possible that this is his only year here because he wasn't Eli Drinkwitz's guy. He had a head coaching interview at Colorado last year. I think he's going to get some head coaching opportunities. Let's say Jamie Chadwell moves on from Coastal Carolina. Billy Napier at Louisiana, where the athletic director is a Mizzou guy, Brian Maggard. One of these group of 5 schools I think is maybe going to look at Ryan Walters, especially if the Missouri defense keeps doing what it's doing, which has been pretty impressive here the last 2 or 3 weeks. So, yeah, Bronson, that's something we're definitely going to keep an eye on, man, and appreciate the call. We're going to jump now. 217 area code. I know you tried a couple times, and we got you on. Who am I talking to?
This is Rich.
What's up, Rich? How you doing?
Yeah, not to be nitpicky, I thought it was a great game, but why does Bannister seem like he was always about a yard short on these receptions? Why he didn't go clear to the sticks, and then turn.
Is that right?
Does defense keep you from doing that or not?
Well, I'll be honest, and like I said in response to somebody else, while I've got the game on, I'm also trying to do all this and manage a number of things, so I sometimes don't see some things you guys might see. That didn't stand out to me during the game, but you may be 100% right. I doubt you made it up. So there could be a few things at work here. First of all, Bannister is like the possession receiver, right? He's very often maybe the safety valve in a route. So maybe he's the third or fourth read from Bazelak, and it's just, hey, go set up here where we know we can complete a pass. And by the time Bazelak gets to him, it's, hey, I just got to get this ball out. Maybe not necessarily that's the primary read to get X number of yards. Also, maybe it's possible it's an option route. The defense took something away from him. And, yeah, maybe it's possible he just ran the route too short. Could be a number of things at play, but it's go back and look a little bit. I didn't notice it live, but it's an interesting thing to check out.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Gabe. Good coverage.
All right, appreciate it, Rich. Thanks for the call, man. All right, we're going right back to the 314. Who am I talking to?
Hey, this is Clay Beer.
What's up, man? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Not bad.
I'm going to echo a couple other people in here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. Echo a couple other people in here and say that I don't really have a question because today's game was such a great performance from our boys. But I would just like to throw a shout out. This is like the first season where going into games, I don't think we're going to be out schemed or just all of our coaches so far have done just an incredible job. Just wanted to throw a shout out, and like Drinkwich's play calling, just so much better than Dooley's.
I assume you mean first season in like 5 years, right? Not like first season ever.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm 21.
Yeah. No. Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah. No. Absolutely. This staff deserves, I think, all the praise it's been getting. And I tried not to focus too much on, hey, let's jump on the last staff because it just gets kind of old. But I've said 100 times, if you're assigning a list of why did Barry Odom lose his job, number one is hiring Derek Dooley as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
It didn't work. So just to give you guys kind of an insight into what those of us who do what I do. So, look, I had a list of about 5 or 6 names. They came from a place that person knew who Missouri was looking at. Like, I'll just leave it at that. This was not a list that was wrong. Derek Dooley's name wasn't on it. So I can promise you Derek Dooley wasn't higher than about choice number 6. And when the news broke that they hired Derek Dooley, my first reaction was, what the hell? It was similar to the reaction when Missouri hired Frank Haith. And Haith worked for a year, and then it wasn't terrible, right? I think where the program's at now, maybe a lot of people look back and say maybe Frank was better than we thought he was. But it wasn't where it had been. When the reaction from almost everyone is what the hell, usually there's probably a reason for that. And the reaction when Dooley was hired was what the hell. And he's the tight end coach for the New York Giants now, and I doubt he's probably going to get another shot anytime soon as a coordinator or a head coach in college. And, that's a big difference. There's no question about it.
Yeah, certainly. And also just another thing to shout out. I know Dooley, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Dooley was calling plays from the box up top, and I just like that Drinkwitz is on the field. I don't think it makes like a huge difference. And I know some guys like the vantage point, but
yeah.
I don't know. I like the guy being on the field.
Yeah, and I know that tends to be something every year that some people kind of really make an issue out of where you're at. And I think it's a personal preference. I agree with you. I'm not sure it really makes a difference. Some guys like the vantage point of the all-22. And some guys like the ability to be able to talk to a guy when he comes off the field and look him in the eyes. I don't know if it matters or not. But yeah, it's it's an interesting thing. And look, the coaching is better this year. I mean, there's no question about it. No way to debate it. So yeah, but appreciate you calling in and being a part of it, man. And hope hope your holiday and the weekend is good.
Yeah, you as well, Gabe. Thank you very much. Thanks for doing this.
All right, thank you, and thank all you guys for being a part of it. Once again, thank Boulevard Brewing Company for making this thing possible. This has been probably my favorite part of what we're doing this year, just changing things up. Well, I mean, because, like, look, I get paid to sit here and drink a Boulevard and talk football. How bad can it be, right? But we get to – you guys guide this. We talk about what you want to talk about. I've always found in covering a game, I'm going to write what I think is important. And you guys might think that's important, and you might enjoy reading it and all that. But maybe I'm talking about all the things that you guys want to talk about something else. So this gives you guys a chance to kind of call in and tell us what you think, what you want to talk about what just happened. As a number of people have said today, I'm not sure there's a lot to analyze today. Missouri beat Vanderbilt up and down the field on both sides of the football. So I'm not sure there's a whole lot of analysis to be done. Missouri was a lot better than the worst team in the league today. So, good for them. But, at the same time, hey, this is what we do. We talk about this team every day, all year long, so let's talk about them. I'm going to jump to some of your guys' comments. And again, I'm catching up on the comments. I started to say earlier, then we got a phone call. You guys are figuring out this deal. You're hitting the like button. I assume most of you are subscribed to the YouTube channel because a lot of you are here as soon as this show starts. So certainly appreciate that. And appreciate all the comments, all the calls, all that. Got some super chats in the last couple weeks. I appreciate you guys doing that. So, this has been fun. So let's move on to some of these comments now. How hard would it be to be a Vandy beat writer or to run their rival site when the team is clearly checked out? What would you do to break up the tedium of covering a rudderless team? Well, Davin, got some experience covering rudderless teams. I covered Missouri basketball during the Kim Anderson era. I mean, let's be honest. 2015 to 2019, here are the list of things that Missouri fans could get excited about. Hey, Michael Porter Jr. committed. Oh, he might play sometime. Okay, Eli Drinkwitz is here. That was it. That was the whole list, right? So we went through 4 years of this. And now there seems to be some hope, certainly on the football side, maybe on the basketball side. We'll see. That's to be determined. But it is, and this is what I always say when people ask about the vantage point. Like, we're not fans. We don't cheer for the team, right? But we want the team to win. We want them to be good. It's more fun. It's way better to cover a winning team than it is to cover a losing team. It is very difficult, if you're covering Vanderbilt right now, to figure out how to make people interested in 0-8 and with no hope other than, hey, a month from now, we're probably going to cover a coaching search. That's what you sell. But there's no question. Like, we want good. We want wins. 2007 was the most fun season I've ever had covering Missouri football. 2013 was probably second. So you absolutely want that, even if you're not necessarily just cheering for it. All right, rolling through. Stewart says, makes me wonder if Cook will stick around for 4 years with Macon in the upcoming recruiting class and all. We talked about this a little bit. I don't know if it's a pregame show or during the game. When you talk for 7 hours, things start to run together. But you recruit a top-level quarterback every year. And if some guys leave, then they just do. You understand that's part of the deal, right? So you sign as many good ones as you can, and if guys transfer, they transfer. So Tyler Macon's going to come in. And if he beats out Brady Cook and Connor Bazelak and both those guys leave, then you just recruit good ones behind Tyler Macon. If Tyler Macon gets beat out and he leaves, then you recruit somebody to replace him. It's just how quarterback recruiting works. It's the only position on the field that only one guy is going to play. And so, like Sean Robinson might have a few gadget plays here and there. You're going to play two sometimes. But ideally, if things go well, you're only playing one guy at that position. And that's just the way you recruit the position. I'm going to sign a good one every year, and I'm going to let it sort itself out down the road. There's really no other way to handle it. Tell you what we're going to do, guys. We're going to take a real quick break here. I'm going to run out and refresh the refreshments. I'll be gone no longer than about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And we'll be right back, and we'll continue with the comments. We'll take some calls. We will do all that. Again, Missouri, a 41-0 winner over Vanderbilt today. Tigers dominate in absolutely every facet. Mitchell Forty has you covered on the website throughout the day. We're going to hang out here with you guys until you're sick of hanging out here with us. So you give me about 90 seconds, and we'll be right back. All right, so I promised I'd come back. The camera got tilted, but we are fixing that. There you go. So promised I'd come back. We are back. So going to continue to roll through the comments. The Canoe Man reminding you all to smash the like button. Again, we're catching up. Some of this is about calls we took earlier, all that, and we still invite your calls. So I'm going to be here until you guys are done. You know, last week we just kind of went on for about 45 minutes talking about nothing. So we can do that too. But if you got calls, if you want to talk Mizzou football, if you want to talk about the SEC, whatever you want to do, that's great. We're going to be here right there, 573-234-4935. Give us a call. But while we don't have anybody on the line, going through the comment section, they should have let Sarah kick it deep. Kicking it short just fits the narrative of girls not being able to kick it deep like the boys. She can kick a soccer ball 30 to 40 yards. Yeah, and look, I don't know. Maybe she can, and they didn't let her. Maybe she can't. I don't know. We talked a little bit about Sarah Fuller with the caller earlier. I felt like they did her a little bit of a disservice. I felt like she became a little bit of a sideshow, and it wasn't her fault. And I'm not sure it was Vandy's fault. It just happened. But, you know, just the way that went, I'm not sure it was all done in the best way. All right, down to the 417 area code. I know we're down in southwest Missouri somewhere. Who am I talking to?
Hey, this is Chuck in southwest Missouri. I was just wondering, maybe you talked about this during the game or it's been addressed, but is Robinson in the portal, the backup quarterback?
No, Sean Robinson basically, and I don't want to say for sure that it is COVID related, but he was unavailable last week and this week. He's not injured so far as we know. I anticipate he's going to be back next week. He hasn't transferred. He's unavailable right now. Is basically that's all the information we're getting. When that's all the information we're getting, we make inferences. So that's why Brady Cook was the backup quarterback today. If Sean Robinson's not back next week, I'll do a little bit more checking, but he is not transferred.
Okay. That was just my question. I saw something on the board that said that he was probably on his way out. But okay.
Well, and look, it's not impossible, right? When you lose the starting job as a quarterback, but it hasn't actually been reported anywhere that I've seen that he's in the portal yet. So we'll check into it the next few days, though.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Appreciate the call, and again, if you guys want to call in, I'm here. I'm gonna hang out for a while. I've budgeted some time today to hang out with you guys. So we'll do that. Move on through some more of the comments with the added interest in a game from a national perspective. Do you think we will get any votes from those otherwise disinterested AP voters? I think they'll start to pick up some points. During the game, I went through the kind of the bottom 5 in the coaches poll rankings. Texas was 21 and lost, so they'll fall. North Carolina was 23 and lost, so they'll fall. Tulsa is 25, playing Houston tonight without its starting quarterback, could lose and fall. So those are teams Missouri could jump up ahead. They had 24 votes in the coaches poll last week, none in the AP poll. I'm not sure just beating Vandy really much matters, but beating a team in your league 41-0 counts for something. Here's how most people vote for this thing. I'll just be honest with you because I know a ton of people who do it. I've never voted for it, but I know a lot of people who have. So when you cover a football game, let's say you cover Missouri, you got to the stadium probably, game was at 11, you probably got there at 9:45, something like that. You're there at 11, watched only Missouri Vanderbilt from 11 to 2, nothing else. You were on post-game Zoom calls until 2:30 to 3 o'clock, and then you're writing until 6 o'clock. You don't see any other games till night, so you don't put a ton of thought into who you're voting for. We'll get back to more of that, but on the phone now, 940 area code. Who am I talking to?
This is Ed in Denton, Texas.
Ed, how you doing,
And,
man? Good to hear from you. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
Good. Yeah, it was really great. Terrific game. One thing I wanted to point out is our last two coaches, when they put the number 2 quarterback in almost all the time in the fourth quarter, all they would do is simply hand the ball off.
Yep.
And it was really, really good to see that they basically gave, pretty much of the playbook to
Brady Cook. Yeah.
To Brady Cook. And, the team looked great. And also the number 4, I forget his name now, the freshman running back, he looked great.
Yeah.
He looked great.
Yeah.
So knowing that you got some depth there and some speed there and an arm strength, that's really nice to know.
Yeah, totally agree. Elijah Young, we talked about him a little earlier. He looked fantastic. Almost broke that one that went for 35, I think. Almost went for 70. But I agree with the thoughts on Brady Cook. I always thought, hey, if the idea is to get your backup in the game to get him experience, what good does it do to have him hand the ball off to the running back 16 straight times? I don't get it. So I give Drinkwitz credit for throwing the football a little bit with him and all that. And also, I've always been a believer of in a conference game, there's no such thing as running up the score. If you're getting beat 41-0, that's your fault. Get better. You're in the same league. I felt the same way when Missouri used to get beat 66-3 by Oklahoma and Nebraska. Like, that's your fault. Just be better. I mean, they're in the same league.
And I just wanted to say, just great show. Really enjoy it. I kind of picked up this late because I got some other things to do after the ball game.
Understood.
But keep up the good work.
Appreciate it. And want to point out for everybody like Ed, who maybe joined us late, look, this stuff is on our site. You can go back and watch the replay. If you're not watching live, obviously you can't call in, you can't comment. But if you're just interested in knowing what we talk about, knowing what other fans want to say, this stuff is all at powermizzou.com. It's all on our YouTube channel. Every show we do, you can go back and watch a replay, and that still helps us. That still kind of boosts our numbers, boosts our exposure, all that, boosts the traffic. And so even if you're not watching live, or maybe, hey, you didn't know we did a pregame show and you want to go back and kind of listen to what the Vanderbilt guy said about Jeff Fisher maybe being the next coach or whatever, it's all on our YouTube page. It's all at powermizzou.com. You can go back and check it out even if you're not watching live, so hopefully everybody will. But getting back to Benny's question about the AP poll. So you get to the game an hour and a half before kickoff. You cover the game. You do post-game interviews for 45 minutes. Then you're going to write for about 3 hours. Like Mitchell Forty will leave Faurot Field around 6 o'clock, I'm guessing. 5:30, 6 o'clock. He's seen no football that happened before 6 o'clock. I've seen no football that happened before 6 o'clock. I might write. I've got some writing to do after this. I might watch A&M and LSU while I do that, but I'm not paying super close attention to it. What most voters do is get back to the hotel room or their house, whichever one, depending on road or home game, look at the scores of the teams they had 1 through 25 last week and go, well, that team was 8 and they lost, so they're going to move down, and this was 9 and they won, so they're going to move up. They don't see the games. When you cover a team, like you guys all see more college football than we do. When you cover a team, you see a maximum of 2 or 3 games on a Saturday. And the other 2 or that you watch other than the team you cover, you don't see full games. They just, like, you'll see. So let's say Alabama-Auburn's playing right now, right? They started at 2:30. Let's say you cover Auburn. So you might have seen an hour, and I'll get back to this in a minute, but we're going to the 832 area code. Who are we talking to?
Hey, this is Patrick.
What's up, Patrick? Oklahoma, correct?
That's right, Edmond, Oklahoma.
See, I'm now remembering people. It's magical.
There we go. Impressive. I tell you what, I really didn't have anything to talk about until actually listening to this. Now I have 2 things to talk about. One,
this is what we're here for, to
thought
inspire. Yeah.
That's right. You definitely did. You definitely blew my mind. The Ryan Walters potentially leaving after this year, it makes perfect sense. I don't know why I didn't think about that earlier. Like you said, he had interest last year, and right now you can definitely say the defense is looking pretty impressive right now, and definitely probably showing people that it wasn't Barry Odom calling the defensive plays, right? I think. I'm sorry.
Maybe. I mean, like, I think they're still tied in, right? Like, Walters was definitely a part of it last year, but a lot of the same players are here this year. So, and Barry's doing a good job as a defensive coordinator. So maybe they just had 2 guys on staff who are pretty decent at defense.
Very
right?
true. But definitely means it could be an interesting offseason on top of everything else that we discussed last week with potentially finding a defensive coordinator and backfilling some staff who may run with him, like we saw with Heupel down to Central Florida.
Yeah, so that's the thing. If Ryan Walters gets a head coaching job, which I think is certainly possible, I'm going to guess David Gibbs might be in line to be his defensive coordinator. Now, would he be in line to be Eli Drinkwitz's defensive coordinator too? And if he was, would he stay here? Who knows? But these are all kind of the under the radar things that, and you know, like I hate to compare a college football coaching staff to like a junior high hallway, but I remember early in Gary Pinkel's career kind of hearing that Andy Hill was the holdover. He wasn't really one of the guys, right? Now he became one of the guys. But early on, he really wasn't. So if you look at when Eli Drinkwitz came in here, none of the offensive guys stayed. But the defensive guys stayed because Eli's an offensive guy. And he probably looked at it and said, well, Missouri had a good defense. I might as well keep the guys that were kind of in charge of that as opposed to going out and trying to find brand new people because I don't want to bring my App State guys. And maybe that makes some sense after watching Ted Roof's defense today at Vanderbilt. But, you know, and I don't want to say there's division because that would not be based on anything I've ever heard, or they all appear certainly to be on the same page. They all appear to be getting along well, but there's a difference between a guy you bring here and a guy you didn't. And so if Ryan Walters goes somewhere, well, he's worked with David Gibbs and Brick Haley longer than Eli Drinkwitz has. So it's something you have to think about. And I'm not trying to like be a rumor monger, but like you bring up, it's something to monitor this offseason. If Walters gets a head coaching job, which I think is certainly possible. I won't go with likely, but certainly possible.
Yep. Will be very, like you said, interesting to monitor.
Yeah.
The other thing that blew my mind again was explaining the AP votes, and just goes along with fans should be absolutely upset with the polls based on number one, the AP not being able to watch many games, the coaches poll being an absolute joke. I think it was.
The coaches poll is actually dumber than the AP poll. Yeah.
Right. So probably people who are watching most games are the fans, and probably have a good argument on a couple of them being skewed one way or the other.
Right, but
so,
I'll say this.
It just makes me feel good that I felt good arguing on a Monday after seeing the polls, or Tuesday, whenever they come out.
Well, one of the few good things about the college football playoff is that the polls actually don't matter anymore.
That's true.
Like when the polls did matter, there's a definite argument because again, like I don't know, man. I the first time I've seen Iowa State or Texas play all year was yesterday afternoon. Like I've seen 0 snaps of either one of them. The Big 12 I've basically written off as not existing because they're not involved in the college football playoff. I've seen more college football this year than I do most years because Missouri's had so many off weeks because the schedule's so jacked up. But like in most years, I can go through an entire season and I've never seen half the top 25 even play. So why should somebody like me vote for that? What basis do I have, right? It's like we go to SEC Media Days and they say vote for the preseason SEC team. I'm like, offensive line? I don't know. This guy has a cool name. I guess I'll vote for him. Like, I don't know who he is, but I'll vote for him. You know, so it's all kind of dumb. But and it's why I continually tell fans, like, don't get too bent out of shape about it. We don't know what the hell we're doing either. So.
But it gives us so much to talk about during the weekdays up until the next week.
And I'm glad you talk about it here. So,
absolutely. Hey, I appreciate it, Gabe. Thank you.
All right, Patrick. Have a good one, man. Thanks for calling. So yeah, I feel like finally it took us 3 or 4 attempts with some phone calls and interruptions, but I feel like finally we kind of answered Benny's question here. And so let's keep rolling through. Eric Hobbs, who didn't join us during the game chat. Eric must have had some obligations. He's been with us most weeks, but now is here. With the offense, is the lack of deep balls more on the wide receivers not having the speed or explosiveness, or on Bazelak's not being accurate deep downfield? I'm going to take a guess here, and I don't know, but I'm going to take a guess. It's based more on the lack of belief that they have a line that can protect long enough to do it. That would be my opinion. You know, my favorite play in football history, literally, like, this is not even an exaggeration, was the Chiefs' play on 3rd and 15 in the Super Bowl last year. And the NFL Films thing, Patrick Mahomes goes to the sideline and says, "Do we have time to run wasp?" It's my favorite line that's ever happened in sports. And basically, look, Tyreek's got to get 40 yards downfield. And I know he's fast as hell, but can our line keep these guys off me for 3 seconds? And if you watch that play, they couldn't. He backed up an extra 2 yards. But the deep pass not only requires the quarterback and the receivers, it requires maybe even more than that, the offensive line. So we're going to jump back onto the phone line, 660. Who am I talking to?
Tony Monseth.
What's up, Tony? How you doing?
Well, I had a question. Are we bowl eligible this year?
Okay.
If we win 5?
Well, actually, everyone is bowl eligible this year. And I'm not exaggerating. There are no rules for being bowl eligible this year. The bowls can take...
So we're not on probation anymore then?
Correct. And the bowls can take anybody they want. You don't have to be 500. You just... The requirements for making a bowl game this year are that you play college football and are not deemed ineligible by the NCAA. So, yes, Missouri is bowl eligible. They will certainly make a bowl. I think at this point, the most likely scenarios based on the SEC and just kind of assuming things are going to go like they usually go would be the Tax Slayer Bowl, which used to be the Gator Bowl, or the Outback Bowl. I think those are Missouri's 2 most likely places.
Well, that's the Tax Slayer. Is that in Jacksonville?
Yeah, and the Outback is in Orlando. So,
in Orlando.
Or maybe in Tampa. Okay. Maybe in Tampa, but it's in one of those 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for the call, Tony. Appreciate it. So, yeah, back to but again, kind of like I was talking about. Yes, it takes a quarterback. It takes the receivers, but it also takes the offensive line. That's a major part of it. And excuse me, if I had to guess, I would guess the hesitation on throwing deep is more the offensive line than anything else. Also, wouldn't really need today. Like what Missouri did worked pretty well. So, okay, Stewart agreeing with me. Beatty in the slot would be intriguing. Travis saying, kind of changing topic, any news on basketball games this week? So as we reported first yesterday, basically Missouri is not going to Connecticut to play at Mohegan Sun this week. They're no longer looking at that. They are trying to get games next week. They don't really know. I saw Mike Bray, the Notre Dame coach, basically, tweet out, hey, we're looking for games. Maybe that's something Missouri could do. We look like we're losing a lot of people just in the last couple minutes. So, hey, if you guys got calls, if you want to keep talking, we're good. I plan to go for this for a while, but, hey, if the game was a blowout and we're kind of dying down, I understand that too. Maybe you're over watching the Iron Bowl. I don't know. But no news on basketball games yet. We'll see what happens. Justin, Bama, or Auburn, I'd pick Bama. I wouldn't pick them by 24, but I'd pick Bama. Part of me thinks anyone who busts A&M out of their 8-4, 7-5 streak deserves serious consideration for Coach of the Year. That said, it ought to go to the Missouri-Arkansas winner. Yeah, we talked again. Some of these are about things we talked about a while ago, just because we're just catching up because we've been busy with phone calls. With Bazelak playing well and Macon coming in, Brady Cook will likely transfer. We talked about that some. Seems like the defensive line play has improved quite a bit over the past couple games. Any reason why? Yeah, mostly because guys are coming back. I mean, they have a defensive line. They didn't have one for quite a while. They literally didn't have one. Like, only had 3 healthy defensive linemen, which was the reason the Georgia game was canceled a couple weeks ago. So they've got guys. I mean, any guys are better than no guys. And so I think that's the biggest reason. Okay, let's see. Keep on rolling through this. Who would be the favorite to replace Walters if he left? Gibbs, Muschamp, Mason. I don't know enough yet about who Eli knows in college coaching and who he'd look at. Because I'll be honest, I've met Eli in person like 3 times. I don't know. I can't really gauge that yet. Gibbs would be a consideration. Muschamp and Mason might be. But definitely we'll have to go kind of delve into that if it becomes something we need to. Davin Harm's asking the most important question: why didn't Michael Cox get any carries in mop-up duty? Look, I'm devastated that our guy, Michael Cox, who only is a cult hero on this show, did not get in the football game. But definitely something that we should be worried about. Who is next on the schedule? They play Arkansas next weekend. After that, they've got Mississippi State and Georgia. The order has not yet been determined or announced, but we expect it to be Georgia on December 12th and Mississippi State on the 19th because Georgia is still mathematically alive for the SEC title game, but not for much longer. And Mississippi State has a game on the 12th against Auburn. So we think next week is Arkansas at home. The week after that is Georgia at home. The week after that is Mississippi State on the road. That's the way we're expecting it to break down. Now, look, things can change. That's the way it goes, but, let's see. Okay. What happened to Adam Sparks? He was unavailable for the game last week, and I'm assuming unavailable for this one. Didn't specifically ask about him. I would think he'll be back next week based on kind of the timeline of the way these things go. But we will see. Huge point on letting Cook get experience beyond handing the ball off. All right, we're going back. Still got some callers. 573. Who am I talking to?
It's Davin.
What's up, Davin? How's things, man?
Good. Hey, did everything get shut down with Arkansas before you had a chance to reach out to Barry to ask about an interview, or did you ever?
No, I reached.
Did you say no?
Yeah, I reached out, and Arkansas assistants do not do interviews, so I gave it a shot, but it didn't happen.
So you went through the actual channels and not directly to him. I guess is what you're. Well, maybe that's what you have to do. I have no idea.
I reached out, and Barry cannot do an interview. We'll just say that.
Gotcha. Well, that's probably for the best for him, I guess.
Yeah, it might be. So, he'll get his chance to come back next week and see what happens. And, we gave it a shot. I knew it probably wasn't going to happen, but I gave it a shot. So.
Yeah. Was there, there wasn't much said about you said it a couple times, but the defensive coordinator for Vanderbilt being
Ted Ruth.
Drink's ex. Yeah, Ruth, whatever. They didn't say anything about that. Of course, they probably didn't even know on the broadcast. And them guys probably weren't even aware that was a connection. But It just seemed like somebody would have brought it up. And outside of you and the guy from Vandy Rivals, nobody said anything. So I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, because it's always kind of like I said on our pregame show, it's always a little bit of a red flag to me when a guy gets a head coaching job and doesn't bring someone from his previous staff. I mean, that to me is kind of telling, right? And I don't know. The Vanderbilt defense did not look great today, I would say. That's a fair assessment?
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Yeah. So, yeah, Missouri's defensive coordinator seems to be doing a decent job. Ted Roof got a job at Vanderbilt, and good for him. And I don't know that this would be a good audition if he wanted to reunite with Drinkwitz if Ryan Walters gets another job. So
no, I don't think so either. Yeah. But anyway,
all right.
See if you can get a one-on-one with Michael Cox and go from there.
I'll do my best. Davin, hope Thanksgiving was good, man. Thanks for calling.
Same to you.
All right. All right, so let's see. Again, I want to make sure I at least catch up on all the comments we've had. Nothing more than hypothetical, but insert this Mizzou team into the Big 12. Are they in the top 3? I would say no. I'll catch up on that in a minute. We're going to go to 314. Who's on the line?
Hey.
Hey, who am I talking with?
Thanks for signing up for Cat Fact.
God, I missed you. I didn't know if you were going to call this week.
Phone call with a fun fact about cats.
Let's listen.
To cancel this subscription, say cancel. Cats bury their feces to cover their trails from predators. That's your daily fact. Thanks for using Cat Facts.
All right, there you go. That's the first time I've heard the actual cat fact. I actually, honestly, when I got that call, I was just thinking we have not heard from the Cat Facts guy all day. So we heard from Cat Facts. Cats bury their feces. There you go. You get educated on this show. We don't just talk football. Insert this team into the Big 12. Are they top 3? Iowa State, Oklahoma. Who's third? Oklahoma State? Are they better than Oklahoma State? I don't really think so. They're like maybe Texas level, maybe not quite that good. I think they're like a 4th or 5th place team in the Big 12, which isn't bad. But the dirty secret that nobody from the SEC will tell you or that covers the SEC is this is probably the worst the SEC's been since Missouri's been in it. Bama's really good. Florida and A&M are pretty good. Georgia also pretty good. Maybe a half step below those other teams because Kirby took 8 weeks to put the right quarterback in. Auburn is okay. Missouri is okay. You know, basically teams 6 through 14 are just kind of, they're all right. Like, I don't mean to, Missouri's better than we thought they would be. Eli Drinkwitz's doing a great job. I don't want to be the wet blanket here, but let's be honest about what they are. They got beat 35-12 by Tennessee. You know, it's not sunshine and roses in a top 10 football team. So SEC's down this year. It's better than the Big 12 because the teams at the top are better, but overall, you know, I'm not sure that there's a gigantic difference necessarily. Next couple years, what is the one area or what is the one unit or area you think should get the most focus to get Mizzou to 9 or 10 wins? Offensive line. I don't think there's any doubt. That's the one that I mean, quarterback's always number one, but quarterback seems to be in solid shape for Missouri. Offensive line's the area that you look at that say that's where there's the most room to see a jump, I think. So that's what I'd look at. Yeah, still seems the place to elevate is the O-line and D-line. Totally agree. Wide receivers need to get better. Imagine Drink having Denario Alexander and Jeremy Macklin at his disposal. Yeah, I mean, Missouri might be a top 5 team and be within a half a plan for a national title. How would that be? Oh, wait, that happened. All right, and the Big 12 tackling is optional. A lot of potential turnover on the defensive line this year. That's true. A lot of guys are leaving, no question. Benny's still hanging around with us. Appreciate the time on the rankings question. My perspective is that when you have a number by your team's name, your coverage goes up, and that helps with the recruiting. I agree. I'm not saying that the polls don't matter. I'm saying they shouldn't matter. And I'm just trying to explain why I think people put too much stock into them. But you're right. if you are a top 25 team, your highlights go out on the wire to every station in the country. SportsCenter is more likely to show you. Newspapers are going to run a little blurb about you rather than just the score. You're right. Coverage goes way up. It shouldn't matter, but it does matter. I guess that's kind of my point. Let's see. Slew up on LSU by 6 with 2 minutes to go. Anyway, we can schedule the Billikens. I don't know why you would want to. I mean, but, whatever. If Walters leaves, thoughts on Will Muschamp? I wouldn't hate it. I think he has an idea what he's doing, but his defense this year wasn't good. And Will was a very successful defensive coordinator at places that they got elite talent. Florida and Texas. They don't get that talent here. Can he do it without elite talent? I'm not saying he can't, but I don't know if we know that yet. But I think he and Drinkwitz have a good relationship. I don't think that's out of the question if Walters were to go, that Will Muschamp would get a call and be like, hey, come here for 2 years, rehab yourself before you get your next head coaching job. I think that's possible, and again, hey, you can get a head coach as a coordinator. I'm okay with it. I'm not going to object to it. I'm good with that. And I've actually heard, I know people from fans of opposing teams, I think kind of hate Will Muschamp. I've actually heard he's one of the better guys in the business. Everybody I know who knows him is really a big fan. So I think it'd be just fine. Any more than a rumor that Robinson has left Mizzou and Cook will be the backup. We got a call about this. I don't know. I mean, it started on Power Mizzou. I guess it's possible. I'm actually going to send a text right now and check, but so hang on. Okay, so text sent. Look, I've heard nothing that indicates that Sean Robinson is transferring. I'll check. I have checked. We'll see what happens, but I have not heard that. All right, we're going back to the phone lines in 816, it looks like. I thought it was 314, but 816 maybe? Who am I talking to?
You bet, Gabe. This is Darren, just driving back from the game and listening to you and really enjoy doing it. So.
Appreciate that, Darren. How you doing, man? How's what's on your mind?
All right. Well, look forward to talking to you a couple of weeks with the Tiger Club of Kansas City, chatting with you via Zoom. So, hey, just want to say, give you a big shout out for doing this and really working through the COVID and everything this year, just pulling this off and doing something for us fans. That's very, very good. And the fact that we're getting these games in, and the university has done the same thing, and the SEC getting these games in, it's kind of amazing the way everybody's kind of pivoted and made everything work here. So just want to give you a shout out for that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And the SEC has been very nimble. I think they've done the best job of any conference. I mean, as of now, and look, things can change right in the next 2 weeks, but as of now, they're going to get every scheduled game in. That's pretty good. For fans who want those games to happen. All right, so I think Darren's hanging up and listening, but no, Darren brings up a good point, and appreciate the call, Darren, and thanks. And by the way, if you can teach some people technology on how to listen on their drive back home, you're amazing. Thank you. But he brings up a good point. The SEC has done a very good job of shifting as they go. Right? I mean, this thing, it hadn't been perfect. They've had to move. They're moving games every week. They put in a thing a couple weeks ago that said, look, we'll tell you on Monday who you're playing. And I know it's not ideal, but it happens. And most coaches, I think, have been okay with it. Most coaches haven't been Dabo. Most coaches have been Eli Drinkwitz saying, yeah, it's not ideal and it's not where we want to be, but this year's different and you just got to deal with it. And I do give Eli Drinkwitz immense credit for the way he has, at least with us and publicly, dealt with this. He has kept it in the proper perspective. He has, basically said, yeah, we want to win games, we want to do all that, but we want to keep our kids healthy, and we want to do the smart thing, and we're going to do what the SEC says to do. And, oh, by the way, 1 week we might have 50 guys, but we'll go on the road and play because we want to play. I think Missouri's dealt with this well. I think the SEC's dealt with this well. And, again, it's a different discussion. We know why they're doing this, right? They're doing it for the TV money, and that's fine. They're not going to say it out loud, but we get it. So it's a different discussion. Should they be playing college football? Should college football be this important? Whatever. That's up to you to decide. And I don't have any desire to debate it with any of you. I've done that for 5 months on the internet. And yes, college football is too important, and no, we shouldn't care this much, but we do, and so be it. So they found ways to play. And I think they deserve credit for that. So back to Sean Robinson. The response to my text was that Sean Robinson's name is not involved in the transfer portal at this point. So we can shut that down. Let's roll on. Let's see. Okay, a lot of talk about the female kicker that I'm not going to mess with. Davin, who I talked with, did you watch the Iowa versus Nebraska football game? I actually didn't. I watched some football yesterday. I watched Iowa State, Texas, and then I watched like a series of Iowa, Nebraska, and Iowa was winning, and I was fine with that, and I just turned it off. No, I didn't see the rest of it. I don't know what I watched after Iowa State, Texas, but I did not watch Iowa, Nebraska really at all. Okay. With the expected turnover of players at the end of the year, how many high school JUCOs are we expected to come in year 2? We know they're going to sign 25, probably a little bit more. It's going to be between 25 and 29. I don't know the exact number, but it's going to be in that range for the recruiting class. Okay, so this is a question about Will Muschamp. Can he help get elite talent via his recruiting skills? I don't know. I tend to think recruiting is more about the school you're recruiting to than the guy doing it. So I don't know if Will Muschamp at Missouri recruits elite talent. I'm just not sure. I don't have a good answer for that. Who else thinks Michael Cox deserves touches today? Up 41. Just me. It's not just you, Jared. 100% agree, man. Retire Cox's number. What's his number again? I don't know his number. I didn't even know he existed until last week. So, all right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to look at some SEC scores real quick. Hey, Alabama is up 21-3. I'm going to update these real quick. Bama 21-3 in the second. Ole Miss is up 20-7 on Mississippi State in the second. So those things happened. Look, appreciate you guys hanging out with me. We've been here about 7 hours. Considering this game was basically over mid-second quarter, I'm pretty happy with that. So appreciate all your guys' participation, all your help. Appreciate Boulevard sponsoring this. Burger Smokehouse, sponsoring the pregame show. Colin Gentry Law Group, sponsoring the endgame show. And appreciate Cam Cameron, who asked our first question this morning and our last question tonight. Cam, I tell you what I'm going to do. I want you to email me at powermizzou@gmail.com. Tell me this was you on YouTube, and I'm going to hook you up with 3 free months on the site. If you already have a subscription, I'm going to add it to your subscription. If you don't already have one, I'm going to walk you through how to get one, and your first 3 months will be free. So appreciate you, asking a very important question. What is the best barbecue in Kansas City? I got to tell you, it's Q39. I love the place. It's phenomenal. It's different. It's not Bryant's Gates. It's not the joint where they grab the stuff with their bare hands and throw it on the plate. It's not LC's. But God, it's good, and you can get a Tank 7 there, and we're still working on this. So my top 5, I go Q39, Bryant's. I love Bryant's. LC's, I'm a Rosedale fan. It's like a sentimental top 5 pick. Not everybody would put it there. Almost nobody would put it there, but I put it there. And then I got to go Joe's. I didn't used to put Joe's in my top 5, but I do. Those are not necessarily in order, by the way. Those are just Q39's 1, 2 through 5 is interchangeable based on the day. Joe's Burn Ends will change your life. So those are my 5. Jack Stack, a lot of people love. I like the sides. It's a little, I don't know. It's good. It's not top 5 for me. But look, Kansas City barbecue is kind of like pizza. Even bad Kansas City barbecue is good. So there you go. All right. Jared lets us know Michael Cox is number 35. What do we want? A scenario where Will Muschamp takes over head coaching duties? Guys, we're getting out of control. Crazy things are happening on the post-game show. We've reached the point of no return. Again, I really do appreciate you spending, 7 hours with us today. It's been good. Missouri wins 41-0. Dominates start to finish. I've still got more writing to do. I'm sure I got some things I can do to help out Mitchell. So thank you guys for spending this much time with us. Thanks one more time to Boulevard Brewing Company for sponsoring this show. To Colin Gentry Law Group, to Burger Smokehouse, to all you guys. I think we've hit it. We're done. We'll talk to you guys Wednesday night right here on the 573 Report. Thanks for tuning in.